And we are now ready for our second keynote speaker, Ofer Vilensky of Hola. Ofer, please take the stage.
It might seem crazy what I'm about to say. Sunshine, she's here. You can take a break.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me in the back? Okay. So, my name is Ofer Vilensky. I'm previously a founder of a company called Django and currently a founder of a company called Hola. Django was acquired in 2006. Hola is a consumer product used today by 57 million people and already a profitable company with 75 employees. So what I'm going to speak about today is about, for the next 10 or 15 minutes, about delivering your product. So you all have ideas, I guess, and you're all thinking about how much time it's going to take you to deliver your product. And you all are probably saying, we need money to build our product, that's why we're here. So anytime someone tells me what their problem is in the startup, it's how to raise money. And so I'm not going to talk about how to raise money because it's not really your problem. So now that I got your attention, why is it not your problem how to raise money? Because you guys, any of you, can deliver your product next week. So today is the 17th of November. Think about your product. It's going to be delivered next week. How do you do that? So, first of all, your idea is not going to be the reason why you succeed. So I understand today is all about the idea and ideas fighting against each other. But if you look at most of the successful companies, they end up doing not what they intended to do initially, right? What was Groupon? Do you know? Groupon was a company that was supposed to do like a social challenge. If you want to do a boycott of a brand, you're supposed to use Groupon. But they actually ended up doing something different. What was Skype? It was supposed to be a wireless network, a global wireless network for communication, ended up being voice. So your idea that you have in your head right now is not what you're going to do. And so the guy from the winery here that was just talking now, when he builds his company and ultimately succeeds, maybe he'll be a wine retailer, not a wine manufacturer. So how do you test your idea? You have to go to market very, very quickly. How do you do that? First of all, know that your assumptions are wrong. Let's take Groupon. They wanted to do a מחאה חברתית, a boycott platform. But nobody cared about it. They had to find out. So you need to ask yourself, what are your assumptions that are the basis of your business, and test them as soon as possible. You need to test them out next week. And now I'm going to show you an example of how to do that. So I'm first going to skip forward to talk about our mistake at Hola. So basically what I'm telling you now is what we learned through 4 years of hard work that we didn't need to do. So we started out Hola as a company to accelerate the internet. By the way, is anybody here using Hola or used Hola? Good. All right. So we started out by doing a product that's supposed to accelerate the internet. Now we're both of us the founders. It's a third-time founders. We've always been in communication, and we thought we knew exactly what we were doing. We had no shortage of money because we raised $7 million in the first day of the company. And then we spent 4 years developing peer-to-peer technology for accelerating the internet. And we had such a strong conviction that we knew what we were doing. We just need the money and the work to get it done. But it turns out that our assumption was wrong. We thought that if we accelerate your internet by 40%, then you'll love the product. But it turns out that it's wrong. And after 4 years, we released the product to market, and nobody was using it. Nobody cared about the product. And it's never about marketing. It's about the product. It was just a crappy product. And our assumption that you guys care about your internet being a little bit faster was wrong. You don't. You don't care about it. So luckily for us, our experience enabled us to say that we have a crappy product. Maybe if it was our first startup, then we'd say it's a great product, but you guys don't understand that it's great. But we were experienced enough to know that it's just a bad product. So then we thought, how do we quickly pivot ourselves and find a product that you guys are actually going to like? So the day we understood it's a crappy product, we created the list of 8 things that we could do with our technology. One of them was to change your geolocation, meaning that if you're browsing from Israel, we can change you to be browsing from any country in the world that you want to be browsing and finish the censorship on the internet. How do we check that idea? So then we created a plan of one day of work, which pivots our product from what we are doing now, acceleration, to geolocation. We made that pivot, and then within a few days, every day we had 80 downloads, 80, and then one day, like within 5 days, it ramped up to 40,000 downloads in a day, and from then on it continued. And today we have 57 million users for that product. So what did we learn there? We learned that our assumptions are wrong and we've got to test them as soon as possible. Ever since then, at Hola, we have many other products, but each of them is tested within usually a few days. So now let's go back to testing to talking about other businesses and how do you create a really quick product. So just so you don't think that this is only for software, I know there's a lot of different companies here. I'm going to choose a company called Peekaboo, which is my sister's company for maternity clothing. Really low-tech company, right? Just so you don't think that this is like only a software thing. So my sister sells a line of maternity shirts, חולצות הנקה. Now she's considering whether she should do like a pink shirt. All the shirts are black. Should she do a pink shirt? Now, it would take her a month and a half to try this out because you need to design the shirt, buy the fabric, send it to China, manufacture it, stock up on all your resellers, and sell a pink shirt. Do you have an idea of how she can do that in 5 hours? What? Crowd? That's not 5 hours. What's that? Coloring? So, my suggestion is Photoshop, right? And so all she has to do is in 10 minutes create a pink shirt in Photoshop, put it up on our website, and test her assumption whether people even want maternity clothing in pink. And then if she gets 100 orders a day, she knows she's got it right, and now she just has to run after manufacturing and fulfill the product. Remember, in our business, in your business, we're all in the startup business, 95% of our ideas are bad, right? So we don't need to be smart. We just need to be able to push out the bad ideas really quickly. So if it takes my sister a month and a half to test out an assumption on a shirt, and 95% of the assumptions are wrong, it will take her 2 years to find a good assumption. Instead, if it takes her 5 hours, like Photoshop idea, then within a few days, she's got a winner. And guys, all we need is one winner, right? We need one winner. And so what we have to do is pivot really, really fast and find a way to mimic evolution, to pivot every few hours, to pivot until we find our direction. So I'll try to give you another example. Lookout. You know Lookout, the security company? No? Well, Lookout's a company worth about $1 billion from San Francisco. And they said that they're going to do like an antivirus for cell phones. They're going to be like the next McAfee for cell phones. This was their assumption, is that you want an antivirus. Does anyone want an antivirus for their cell phone? Do you? Try it, you won't. So there's no need for an antivirus in phones because none of you have any viruses on your phones that you really care about. So their assumption was wrong, but they were smart enough to do a really quick test. And what they did was, they decided we're going into the security market for phones, and we're going to test it really quickly by creating a Find Your Phone. This was like 5 years ago. You know, find your iPhone or find your Android. And this was a great application. It took them a few days to deliver it. And then they started ramping up and being very viral. And they had millions of downloads. And then they could start testing and playing around with their idea and adding more and more security features. Today, some of the great security features that they have are actually not antivirus. They're like, if somebody's using your WhatsApp, it takes a picture of them, it sends it to you by email. And so these are things that they never thought about. But you only find them through really quick evolution. I'll tell you another funny story about Hola. So after we finished those 4 years, and nobody cared about our acceleration, we found an app on the store which does exactly what we wanted to do on Android. It said, this app accelerates your internet, it does this and that, everything we ever wanted to do, it does. And it had 250,000 users, which was like an amazing number for us. And then if you read the long description, at the end it says, this is just a joke, it's a placebo. You know, it doesn't do anything. It's just a joke. And 250,000 people installed it, and it got pretty good reviews. Like, it's really accelerating my internet, it's doing well. So here's an idea of what we should have done on day one. Start the company day one. Day two, release a product for the Play Store that accelerates your internet but does nothing. Day three, add, for example, something that reduces all of your large, like erases part of the advertisements. That'll accelerate your internet, right? But that's a way to check if people like it. And then we find out, no, people don't care about 10%. Maybe they care about 30%. So you can check your assumptions very, very quickly. So I think to summarize my point here is to say this to you. Think about your idea. The most creative part about your work is going to be tonight, when you have to think about how you release your product tomorrow, or at the latest, next Tuesday. What is your minimal viable product? What is this little thing that you're going to do? Like, look how to Find My Phone. Like, we should have done a placebo. All the examples that I gave, what are you doing to release your product next week? After you release your product, you're going to go into a quick evolutionary cycle. Every 5 hours, you're going to change your product, test it out, and see how it works. Okay? So that's my idea to you. And next year, we'll talk about the next example, which will be one of your successes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ofer. For your information, I did introduce you to the audience, but that was when you were not here. Strangely enough, we had 2 lectures by 2 entrepreneurs that never met each other, and they were talking about very much the same. There's a very interesting piece you can find on Google. It's called Prototyping. It's by Alberto Savoia of Google, who started a company, very successful, then launched something else, which was very successful, and then failed big time. And it's worth your 20 minutes. Look it up. Prototyping.